really is fucking terrifying how fundamentally fucked you are if you're autistic like me. Because the ways you'll get rejected in society is not through you being a horrible person or even necessarily through you being incompetent. Although I do think my autism makes me incompetent at everything. I think that it at the end of the day, a lot of times it comes down to shit that's very arbitrary and that's very stupid, but that is very important to whether or not you're accepted in society. So, for example, if you go to a job, like what I'm seeing, I was like watching videos on people who got rejected from job interviews because they're autistic, and I was looking at like what a job interview is usually about and what they usually want, and it seems like what they want to hire you for is they want to hire you because you're like outgoing and you're engaged and you're friendly and you're charismatic, and all of these things are based on very arbitrary neurotypical standards of what it means to be engaged and outgoing. And in fact, if you're autistic and you're just like naturally monotone, like me, I think I don't really know, but I'm guessing I wouldn't come across as very like friendly and engaged and everything, even if I tried. You really can't do anything about that, and that's going to be very contradictory to that. And you're not going to be able to come across as like a normal, charismatic, outgoing person. And again, even if you try to get past your anxiety, you're just naturally monotone. That is what you're not going to be hired for. And that's something that's just a completely arbitrary standard that you will not fundamentally fit because of the fact that you're autistic, at least in the way I am. And that's pretty frustrating, that you're just going to be rejected from like old jobs because of the fact that you can't fit an arbitrary standard of how to say things because of the way you were born. That's not that great. I also think though that I probably would be bad at jobs, which is why I don't really complain about it too much, because I know that at the end of the day, even if people gave me the chance, either in like a social relationship or in a job place, whatever, I would probably be fundamentally incompetent, and I wouldn't be able to, really have skill in what you're doing, right, and those things. And so nothing would be able to happen even if people were tolerant. So I don't know. But it is great to think about how the thing I was born with, the disability I have, first of all, I was born with it, right? There's nothing I could do about it. But also, it's something that's kind of unlike many other disabilities, because like all these other disabilities, they affect one aspect of your life. There are things you can usually get around when it comes to having a meaningful position in society, which again I define as like being very basic, just getting like a job, getting friends, getting just accepted in society at all. These disabilities, they usually don't fundamentally stop you from doing that because there are workarounds to the specific problems you have. But with autism, or at least with the autism I have, with my specific, mental problem, the thing that's fucking affected is your just base level social ability, at the very least. I think it's much more than that. But at the very least, your base level way to understand social convention, to participate in social convention, and body language, and wording sentences, and, saying the right things, saying the things that are best in emotional contexts that make the most sense, that advance the conversation, and many different ways of saying this, but it's basically just having the fundamental social conventions and standards of speaking and composing yourself when it comes to social situations. And these things that seem kind of arbitrary and seem kind of just like, like they wouldn't be the thing that matters. I think it really is what it comes down to to when you're rejected in society for this. Like, that's the main thing. It's just that you don't fit the arbitrary standards of social convention that you fundamentally will not have if you're autistic, at least, like me. And it's a very significant thing. Like, you'll be completely rejected and you won't have a place anywhere, and nobody will want to hire you just because of the fact that you naturally just don't understand a lot of the social convention of saying things in the way that seems nice to people, because of the way that you can't fucking exactly follow that specific process of arbitrary social convention. You're just going to be seen as crazy and weird, and nobody's going to want you anywhere. And I guess, like, for neurotypicals don't really know what I'm talking about, right? Like, it probably seems like if you're having some problem, it's you're a bad person. And that's what's also frustrating about it, is that a lot of this, it manifests in like misunderstanding, where you just don't understand how to say things, and so things get misconstrued, and people have misunderstanding, and they think you're a terrible person for the way you speak and the way you compose yourself, even though you're trying to be a good person. And so I think that neurotypicals assume that the problems autistic people face happen through like bad decisions they've made. They're just being assholes. But in reality, it's because they don't conform to the exact way of saying things that neurotypicals have accepted as the correct way to saying things. And so immediately they're just thrown out, right? And I think it literally does come down to like wording sentences in a nice way, being able to, have your body language respond accurately and consistently, and just be able to appeal to everybody's emotions in a way that facilitates the social convention, the arbitrary social convention. And if you don't do that completely, even if you're trying to be a really good person and you're trying to do everything right, you'll just be thrown out as a horrible fucking person, and you'll be rejected everywhere. And I think that's the reality I'm in. I don't know about all autistic people, but at least that's how it represents for me. Yeah, I say that a lot, generally. I don't know. I just felt like going on this rant after like watching a YouTube video where someone was talking about how they couldn't get hired because of their Asperger's. And it sounded pretty stupid to me if they were like telling the truth. And it kind of reminded me of just how it seems like kind of like for me. But I don't know. Like, even like YouTube videos that talk about their problems with Asperger's, I don't feel like there's anybody who really has it in the way that I do, or at least they're not able to express it. Like, I've not really met anybody or seen anybody talk about the same fundamental, like, overarching experience that I have. For them, it's always, for the majority of the people with autism I see, it's always very contained, simple problems. When I see them talking about it on YouTube, I don't see like existential fucking horror and depression and like just absolute like, what the fuck is my life? My life is pointless. No, I see them just complaining about how people are slightly mean to them because they don't understand one specific body language thing, and that's really the problem for them. And so I don't see anybody expressing the idea that this is fundamentally more, debilitating. And I definitely feel like it is for me. I don't know if that's because these people aren't self-aware, or they have it better than me, to where they are able to have a social life, and they are able to function in places, or what it is, or if like this, I'm just completely unique, and I live in this unique fucking nightmare, and no one else has. Like, I don't know. I've just never seen You don't really see it much. You don't see the story of the retard, of the dysfunctional, uncomfortable, awkward person who, because of that, just doesn't have a place in society. Like, that's not really romantic to people. I don't see that a lot. But it is interesting because I always try to think of ways to make my story sound romantic, to make it sound kind of emotionally appealing to neurotypicals, and to kind of make it just like all these other stories of struggles people go through in their life, where it's there's a silver lining, there's a sympathy element of sympathy with it, where people will be able to connect with you on some level. Because even in the most depressing stories, you still have at least the sympathy of people. You have the ability to express that depressing thing and talk about it with people, and that is certainly something. And I try to have that too, but I feel like it's kind of impossible. I feel like because if people think about like a problem that's depressing and miserable, they want to think about it in a way where it's human, where they can connect with you as a fellow human, which they can fundamentally still have that ability to, even if they don't have that horrible problem, they are able still to be able to communicate with you and be able to connect with you as like a base level human. So you still have that. And that's the expectation. When you're talking about something depressing, it's like, oh, it's a depressing thing a human's going through. Well, because they're human, we can fundamentally connect with them and fundamentally understand them and fundamentally talk to them about their feelings, and it can be emotional or romantic and all nice. And I want that to some extent, but it's not like that. It's probably the most unromantic, disgusting, embarrassing thing to go through. It's that I'm awkward. It's that I sound like an asshole in every conversation. It's that I can't form sentences correctly. It's that I have really awkward and retarded fundamental ways of, uh, of body language and of composing myself and of talking. And fundamentally, I can't express it in a way that people understand. I can't appeal to convention, to emotional convention that would actually create the understanding of this as like a human problem. And so nobody recognizes it. They just assume that I'm an asshole and that I'm lazy and I'm a terrible person, because of things that I can't control, and because of a lot of just misunderstanding, because I can't conform to a social convention. And so, no matter what, my problem, people are never going to sympathize with it. They're never going to understand it, because I'm fundamentally, like, not human. I'm not human enough to be able to have that connection and to be able to have it fucking matter. To them, I'm just fucking retard trash. And, all the things that I go through, they're not going to understand, because fundamentally that connection between us, as me being like a fundamentally normal neurotypical human, being able to participate in convention and the fundamental normal human things that remind us all that we're humans that can share emotions, I can't do that. So nobody's going to even be able to understand my problem or be able to accept it. And so they're just going to say that I'm an asshole who isn't trying, because that's what they have to resort to if they can't understand it. Because as I don't conform to their convention of speaking and being normal, they don't really understand. They can't connect with me. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm not very good at explaining these things, but that's literally my point here, right? Like, I've been saying a bunch of jumbled shit, and it doesn't make any sense, and nobody listening to this would want to sympathize with me, because it just sounds like I'm retarded and that I don't have a problem, even though my problem is probably worse than a lot of problems that people sympathize with more. just because of the fact that those people that are getting sympathized with at least are able to communicate their problems in a way that's appealing. And so, just because of the fact I'm always going to sound autistic, bizarre, and incoherent, I'm never going to be able to be fundamentally have my problem be seen as a problem, because for that to be the case, I have to be fundamentally human, and people have to be fundamentally able to connect with me. And I mean, look, that's not totally true. Like, I don't know. I don't conform. I don't have normal human things, and in a lot of ways, I'm very fundamentally different than a normal human. So I can't connect with other humans. I can't have my problems be recognized as human problems. I can't be understood or sympathized with, or really be connected with, or be able to be accepted as a human. Because fundamentally, I guess maybe this, it's not correct to say it that way, but in a way, I'm not fundamentally a normal human in ways that I guess are important. And in a lot of ways, they are important. I don't think I could contribute to society very well if people were super tolerant and they ignored all preconceptions and didn't have misunderstandings. But I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude. It's just, I'm always looking at, trying to look for ways where I can express this in a way that seems human and that seems relatable and that seems like, people would understand it. But no, I think people just see me as a fucking incoherent retard saying a bunch of jumbled and awkward shit, and so they just laugh at it. Even if the problem I'm going through is worse, and a lot of problems I sympathize with more, it's not about that. It's just about conforming to the right convention that makes people emotionally invested in something. I don't fundamentally have that shit, so I'm not accepted as a normal human. I'm not accepted as someone who deserves sympathy. I'm not accepted as someone who deserves anything. And because of the fact that I don't have these things, people rationalize it because I don't have these, ability to participate in social convention and normal ability in society. Again, in a lot of ways, it's not arbitrary or pointless. Like, I am actually bad at everything. But because I don't have these ways of appealing to social convention and to normal convention of humans, they just rationalize it as me being a horrible person and throwing my life away by being lazy. Because I think that if they were to accept that I was just a defect who was, dysfunctional and was born with this, and I'm just waiting to die because I was born with a really unfortunate problem, they would be fucking depressed. I don't know. It's hard to comprehend that type of existence. So I have to rationalize it and just pretend like I'm a horrible person and it's my fault. Things that this way. I don't know.